we'll get started. I'd like to start on time because we have a big group of people to speak to us, and hopefully we'll get to do some questions and answers. First, I'd like to say thank you for coming out to our candidates night. And tonight, besides the political candidates, we also have some of our candidates who are running for the Rockaway Township Board of Education. Just as a point of information for everybody, early voting is taking place now through November the 5th. And so if you're not able to get to the voting booths on election day, you have an opportunity to have your voice heard. My favorite line is when I hear somebody complaining about some of those people in office, say, "Did you vote?" And if they say no, I say, "Well, you don't have any right to complain." So, very good. Very good. If you have an absentee ballot, make sure you get it in promptly. Early voting, you can also vote at the county office Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4 p.m. up until next Monday, the 6th. Which ends at 3 o'clock. So I'd like to thank the candidates for giving their time. And if anybody needs to know where the early voting is taking place, I have a list of some of the places that are doing early voting. We're going to start tonight because we have 6 candidates for the town council. We're going to start with the town council candidates. So if the town council candidates would come up. Democrats can sit on this side, and the Republican candidates can sit on this side.
That's right. Don't put us next to there.
I didn't want to cause any trouble by splitting one in and the other. This way. So what we'll do is we'll give them. I have a timer, and when the bell rings, you have to stop talking. Also, another thing is we are filming this event tonight. Doug Abbey has graciously agreed to film it for us. So, just so you know, I want everybody to know that it's being filmed too. So let me get my timer, and then you get between 2 and 3 minutes. What do you want, 2 or 3?
1.5.
3? 3, okay.
It'll be a fast break.
Okay. It's okay if you finish before the 3, but, you know, I will limit you to the 3. Ask Tucker, he knows I made him stop the last time, right? We have more people tonight.
There are fewer candidates.
I think what we'll do is we'll go across, and that way everybody gets a chance.
Sure.
What I'd like you to do is introduce yourselves, and you can say your party affiliation, and then tell us what you'd like us to hear. Matt, would you like to start?
Oh, sure. Let me know when the time is.
Now.
Hi, everybody. Oh, nice to see some friendly faces out there. Caroline, my wife, over there, thank you for coming. So I'm Matt Davis, and I'm so proud to be running for Rockaway Township, along with this incredible slate of Democrats. 3 out of the 4 council candidates live in White Meadow Lake, for you White Meadow Lake people. The 4th lived in White Meadow Lake, but still, of course, lives in Rockaway. So we're well represented here tonight. Thank you, Pat and White Meadow Lake, for having this event tonight, and all of the elected officials and candidates for coming out. As well as, we really appreciate the service you guys give to the township. For those who don't know me, I'm a veteran of the U.S. Army, a 23-year resident of White Meadow Lake. Oh, not sure if I'm in there. And with my wife Caroline, we moved here back in 2000, and I'm a HR communications manager with Verizon. So if you have any problems, you can reach out to me. And we do have friends and family discounts, but I'm not supposed to be talking about that. So, why am I running? I'm running because I love this town. I love all it has to offer, our incredible lakes, parks, shopping, places to work, and of course the people. I'm running to protect human rights for all, for open and transparent government, and to give a voice for all citizens and protect our wonderful natural resources. I'm also very proud that along with Jonathan Sackett, I'm one of the 14 candidates in Morris County to be endorsed by the New Jersey League of Conservation Voters. There are clear issues in this election where we differ from our opponents. One is transparency and open government. The council has canceled every other meeting since July. They claim they have no agenda to discuss, but in reality they don't want to hear from the public. They don't want to be challenged on issues, and they don't want to be held accountable right before the election. Another area is getting more value for our taxes. As you know, our taxes have been going up, and I know that the council is only, I'm not sure the percentage, 24%, responsible for 24% of our taxes. But we live in a town that the taxes continue to increase, but we don't get the value we get from our taxes in other towns. Things like garbage collection, sewer fees, bulk leaf collection, these don't happen in our town. We pay extra for them. If you go to Bergen County, other counties like that, they're included in our taxes. So we have to find our own garbage collection. We get charged fees for gas, surcharges, and we don't know if we could be getting ripped off because I have waste management versus somebody who has blue carding and the other company. I'm forgetting right now. Thank you. I know the Tassiola people are probably paying less money. Oh, and I'll wrap it up. That was not 2 minutes, but
3 minutes.
all right. So, but I want to get more from our taxes if we can. Pay for those items. And finally, I want to talk 1 minute on the state audit from May. The New Jersey Controller, give me 1 second, Pat.
I can't.
Okay.
We have too many people.
I want you to remember 3 things about us. We will represent all the people to Rockaway Township. We will protect clean water, parks, and we will clean up the waste and mismanagement in our town. Please read about the state audit. Thank you.
Okay. J. Thomas Monica, right?
That would be me. Thank you very much. I'm not nearly as tall as Matt. My name is J. Thomas Monica. You could call me Tom Monica. I'm a resident of Rockaway Township. Used to live in Meadow Lake. My wife and I moved to the other side of town, just behind like M&S Pizza. We love this town. We love being here. My wife's been here for much longer than I have. I've been here about 4 years. I live and work in the town currently. What I can sum up, a lot of what Matt said covered what our stance is. But there's one thing I'd like to add, and maybe add a little bit of brevity and lightness to this election. One of the main things that I'm running on, and the word that I want you to remember from me tonight, is chickens. That's right, chickens. Okay? One of the things that my wife and I would really love to do is raise chickens in our yard. And we can't. We're not allowed. We have a Tractor Supply in town, sells chickens. Guess what? Can't buy them, can't own them. We want to own them. So, on top of all the things that Matt said, if there's any reason for you to go to the polls and elect me as a member of the council, which I think could use some balance, could use some democratic voices, but I think one of the things that you really need to remember when you pull those levers on the 7th, chickens. Thank you.
Ready?
Yep, ready. Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Pat, for hosting this evening. It's an honor and seriously a privilege to be on the ballot as a councilwoman at large. There are 2 things I would love to speak about tonight. Number 1 is my granddaughter Addison, and number 2 is my trip to Iceland. I just landed last night, and it's a fabulous country. If you have a chance, do check it out. But that's probably not why you're here tonight. So, a little bit about me. I've lived in Rockaway Township since 1993, with a brief period in Arizona. I served on all my kids' PTAs at Stony Brook, Copeland, and Morris Hills. Go Hills! Currently, I'm on the Board of Trustees for the library. I've had a lucky life here. I've raised 2 fabulous kids, and I've enjoyed many days on White Meadow Lake, which is right outside this ballroom if you're not familiar where White Meadow Lake is. I feel it's time for me to give back by serving this community as a councilwoman at large. I'm running as a concerned citizen. I'm running to foster more community. Some of my ideas include, number 1, where's our dog park? Number 2, where's our community gardens? Number 3, how about a food shed by the municipal building that's just stocked with canned goods and non-perishable items? Because sometimes people in our community are in need and they're not available the times that maybe a food bank is open. Number 4 was I had this idea to do something different for the seniors, like maybe a senior prom or a dance, something like that at Copeland. Number 5 was a Habitat for Humanity project, which would foster community, sorry, these are stuck together, foster community and help a family secure a home. This is not a free program. Potential homeowners go through a thorough process to be considered. Number 6, last one, work with our county to revive Craigmere as a recreational hub for all the different neighborhoods in White Meadow Lake and the rest of the county.
Thanks, Emma. Howard? Ready?
Yes. Good.
Go.
Hi, my name is Howard Kritz. I am running for re-election for council at large. I've been a Rockaway resident for a little under 20 years, been on the council for the last 4, served as a council president for the last year and a half. In that year and a half, we've restored a lot of decorum and normalcy to the council. I'm very big on procedure. We streamlined the meetings, what used to take all night, now we usually do it in about an hour. As far as canceling every other meeting since July, we've done that for years. The second meeting of the month during the summer times, we've always done it. We did have 2 meetings in September, but I'm actually proud of that because we're not spending money on lawyers and people to come sit in the room. If there's no business, then we're not going to have a meeting. Budget meetings have been reduced from 3 days to 1 day, and really big on developing and like enforcing a cross-functional team, so the council, we really do, everybody gets along and everybody's, pretty much heading in the right direction. The other thing I want to point out is, Tom, you'll be very happy to know that we've actually been developing a chicken ordinance for a couple months now. So regardless of who does get voted in, we're working on the chickens. I'm glad the chickens got the biggest round of applause. As far as me, I am very big on volunteering. I serve on the boards of the lacrosse, basketball, and the Rocket cheerleading and football programs. I am in my 2nd term as PTA president at Copeland Middle School. Again, I'm all about developing the community. And like Pat said before, either put up or shut up. And I like to get myself out there and volunteer my time. As far as my achievements in the last 4 years, I was the main driver to install AEDs at every rec facility and field that we have. That's 17. Who knew we had that many different facilities? I serve on the Mayor's Recreation Committee. I'm really big on trying to make Peterson the downtown of Rockaway, not just sports. Actually, Shauna, my PTA vice president, is here. We ran an event last year where we brought the chorus and the band of Copeland there. We had a couple hundred people. It was really a good time. Along with the council and the mayor, we finally put to bed the Bolbyville problem, which was kicked down the road by some of the other council people and previous mayors for years and years and years. That's no longer an issue for us. We deliver budgets with little to no increase in rates. We do have a new buzzer in the budget for next year. Everybody, thank you for your time.
Ready?
Yes.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Adam Salberg, and I'm running for re-election for council at large as well. I wanted to spend tonight actually just talking about just real accomplishments. We know that we want to move forward in the right direction. Some things were said about the council in the past, but let's talk about really what we did accomplish. As Howard mentioned, Bowlbyville literally kicked down the alley for nearly 30 years. We saw it, we fixed it. It was fair to both the residents and our neighboring towns. We saw Peterson Field in disrepair. Again, we saw it and we fixed it. Minimal cost to residents, and is becoming the absolute just hub of activity for our town. Irregularities in police benefits. Again, passed over for years, we saw it, we fixed it. It's fair now and within complete compliance within the state of New Jersey. I saw unfair restrictions to our waterways and lakes, so I fixed it. I created an ordinance that created free and open access to our waterways and open spaces for residents. And I think that it was that love for my, for the lakes and forests of my town that the mayor appointed me to the Morris County Open Space Trust Fund, in which I have the opportunity to save land from encroachment across all of Morris County, available to all residents. I was also asked to be part of the Water Quality Committee, in which we meet with the town's lake committees to be sure that everything is free, open, and and guarantees the safety and purity, going forward. So yes, we have a lot of plans going forward, but I want everyone to really take a moment and think about myself, Paul, and Howard, Mayor Jackson. We came into office, we saw issues, and we fixed them. We fixed them with minimal cost to residents. We have a budget now that, again, we held a hard line on any increases, not reducing any services or any programs. There are so many things we'd love to do. The key is that we kept the money in your pocket and we did not reduce any services to any of you. So as you go to the poll, and again, we want to move forward with this town, but I also want you to think about which team saw issues that have been on the table for sometimes literally decades, and instead of kicking them down the hall, faced them, fixed them, and then moved forward. So thank you.
Questions to the candidates. Charlie, I saw your hand go up first.
I have a question for all the candidates. White Meadow Lake gets 70% of the water inflow from upstream from the Tilcon property, from the Mill Pond, some call it Mount Hope Lake. So I filed an OPA request earlier this year to find out if the DEP or the EPA was testing that water for industrial contaminants. The reason I filed that OPA request is because of the mountains of road tillings that are stored over there, right at the water's edge. So when I filed that OPA request, I found out that neither the EPA nor the New Jersey DEP have tested that water ever for petroleum or industrial products. So my question to all of you individually is, what resources would you utilize and how would you go about motivating the New Jersey DEP to finally test the water that comes downstream to us for industrial contaminants? Please tell me how you go about doing it.
Thanks for that question. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Charlie. So we work pretty closely with the POA president. So Michael Lardy is always at our meetings, and this subject specifically has come up before. I'm not sure how recent the information you have is, but as far as I know, the water has been tested. The road piles fall well within regulations. If there's information that you still need, I'll be happy to meet with you after here. I'll give you my card and I'll make sure you get what you're looking for. But Mr. Sahlberg serves on those committees as well, and it is certainly top of mind, and not just White Meadow Lake, all of our waterways.
I believe they were tested though.
I believe they were tested.
No, I'm sorry, I'm on that committee also.
Okay.
And they weren't testing. And my information is very recent. My filing is this year. My response to my filing was only a few months ago. And the dates on all the paperwork that I have are recent contemporary dates.
Okay, Charlie,
Yeah.
give
definitely
them
get
your
in touch.
information and make sure that you get in touch.
I'll make sure you get exactly what you
So
need.
you get what you need. Do either one of you have, any one of you have?
Matt will take this.
Matt will take it?
No, Charlie, you've educated me on the tenuous nature of White Meadow Lake in terms of what, the water being fed from Mount Hope Lake. And we have some state candidates here, or one state candidate here tonight. So I think we would work with them and pressure them to say, we need this tested. We need some restrictions put on Tilcon to protect our environment. Our house gets covered in gray dust from Tilcon explosions and probably Picatinny explosions as well. But they're doing significant damage to the environment up there. So we would work to restrict that. I know they're a big taxpayer in this town. These guys all care about ratables, that's all they care about. We would care about protecting our water in White Meadow Lake, and we would work for that. Thank you.
Do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I'd just like to, again, say that we have extremely good relationships with Picatinny and Tilcon, and to say, to make statements that there's environmental damage unchecked, that's not really a fair statement to make. Again, we're already under quite tight guidelines. No question about it, that the water quality must be tested, and we are absolutely going to do everything we can for that, but let's not make allegations of pollution without any facts behind it. That's all I want to say.
Emily, do you have anything to add?
No,
to that?
I've spoken to Charlie about this numerous times. I'm concerned also.
Yeah, I feel like Matt covered her.
Okay,
Our side.
Tucker?
Hi, everybody. Just real quick to touch on Mr. Bogestad. We see each other sometimes at Hub Lakes meetings, being involved with Lake Telemark, that's there. And just for the record, Mr. Salberg, I've never seen you at a Hub Lakes meeting where we work with neighboring towns to go over water quality, especially analyticals that are coming from Green Pond, Lake Telemark, also Tilcon, which is federally controlled when it comes to analyticals of water.
Do you have a
So
question in
I
there?
do, I just want to make that point that's on there. But both candidates, Mr. Morrison and Mr. Salberg, had made a comment about Bobbyville. And I just want to make sure that I understand correctly about you fixed the problem, as you noted on here. White Meadow Lake residents over almost 2 decades had to deal with septic abandonment and then
What
cutting
is the
into...
question?
It will come in there from what I'm saying, the narrative. They had to tie into sewer from the sewer assessments that came here. Many of those people that had just put in septics and got COs within a year later had to tie into sewer at a cost. Tens of thousands of dollars for the septic, to abandon a year later, and tens of thousands of dollars to actually do into the sewer. All of White Meadow Lake residents. When we talk about Bobbyville, it was something that I actually found as a council member in 2018. And when you say that you rectified that issue, there were 77 residents on the Bobbyville line for a sewer that never paid the assessment. One of them being a council member that's here, Mr. Quinn. So when you say that you fixed that problem, what you actually did was you waived any fees for those to collect for the assessment. However, the White Meadow Lake residents had to pay for their assessment, and they are now even paying for the assessment cost of the installation of that sewer in Bobbyville. So what was it that you fixed of the Bobbyville issue that we brought up, that your administration stalled in trying to get a committee together for assessment members and to actually collect that money back from them?
Excuse me, I'm going to say something because I was at a number of those council meetings. And that project was going on for almost 20 years or more before it was discovered that it hadn't been paid. So I don't think you can blame the current administration.
I asked him, how did he repair and fix that problem?
Well,
I'm
there was
prepared to
Yeah,
answer that
Mrs.
question.
Devin, and you're a little off on what those information is on that.
All right.
I understand.
I was at the meeting.
I know, but I'm the one that was handling it. You weren't, so I appreciate it.
Just to point out, this was handled after Mr. Kelly's term ended. We handled this. So to answer the question of what we did, that's exactly right. We basically put it to bed. We waived all outstanding fees, and I'll tell you why. Because the ongoing and future litigation that we would have been forced to go through would have exceeded the cost of any monies that we can recoup. Quite frankly, this was an issue going back decades, okay, way before us. The town screwed up, all right? And sometimes you have to own up to your mistakes. And as a town, we all did. We sucked it up. We says, you know what? You guys are right. And we wiped the slate clean because, quite frankly, like I say, we didn't want to waste more money on litigation. Something's close to your heart, Mr. Kelly. Going through what we,
Quiet, please.
quite frankly, it was easier just to write it off. We didn't lose any money. We didn't have to pay any money out. We just eliminated anything going forward.
The taxpayers paid $1 million. You would not have had $1 million.
I answered your question, Mr. Kelly.
Excuse me, Mr. Kelly, you've had your turn to speak. Does anyone else have a question for these candidates?
There's one all in the back.
Yes.
Hi, so back to this watershed. There was a very large study done by Princeton Hydro, looking at our whole watershed across, I think, 14 lakes from in Rockaway Township. And I went to that meeting specifically to hear the council's perspective on that report. And that was months and months and months ago. And I think that report cost, I don't know, 100,000 plus more of our taxpayer dollars. So has the council, in the months that have transpired, had a chance to look at that report and come up with a plan of how we're going to file and get some of that watershed grant money?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. No, in fact, it is in front. Yeah, I do recall when the reports did come out, that is in front of the administration, and no question about it, we do have opportunities, for funds through that. That was, I think it was about 1.5 years ago. I believe that, yeah, that's about when that came to us. But yeah, again, Mayor, I don't know if you have any information on it. Yeah, but again, we have that slated, but it is going to take time, but we are well aware of it.
It was left for the council to read that report and come back and come back.
Yeah, which is still, well, again,
Just to reiterate,
we don't have anything.
the council doesn't set policy.
Yeah.
Right, so that recommendations are left to the expert. The council reviews it and either approves it or denies it.
We do
The
that,
council
yeah.
does not legislate.
Legislate, yeah, but I know that the administration has that.
So who in this administration, and you're on the water quality
Yes.
commission, whatever, who actually owns taking action on that report?
Well, as a council person, we have to wait, until we have something to actually work with.
From who?
From the administration.
From our administration.
Yeah, from our administration.
Who in the administration?
The mayor.
The mayor will
Yeah.
speak to that when he has.
Yeah, but again, yeah, we can't take action on anything that we don't have in front of us.
Okay. Anyone else have a question? Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask the mayoral candidates to come up now. Manny and Joe.
Who wants to go first?
It's up to Manny. You go first.
I'd like to finish it.
One second, I'll get my timer going.
I'm gonna start talking before you get started.
3 minutes is gonna be left for me.
Okay.
Well, thank you. My name is Joe Jackson. I'm your mayor. Thank you for having us here tonight. Thanks for this event. It's a great turnout. I first want to talk about some of the accomplishments. This past year, we did submit a budget that actually lowered our municipal tax rate and kept our taxes flat at the municipal level. That's the budget I submitted to the council for approval. Within that budget, we were able to get a new fire truck, rescue boat, 8 police vehicles. We hired several police officers. So I think from a financial standpoint, my administration has done a good job keeping our taxes at an acceptable level and still providing services to our residents. And that's what it's about to me, right? It's that balance between what things cost and what our residents get from your taxes. So some of the things you'll see, Dial-A-Ride's a big program we have in town. Our public safety, I talked about some of the things we got for our police force and our fire department. But we also have infrastructure needs. Our water system, many of you live in White Meadow Lake know there's frequent water main breaks. our water main system's in disrepair. We're trying to fix it. So we just got a grant, actually. We're gonna be replacing some water main on Queens Road. So as we get grants and file for grants and receive them, we'll be doing more work like that. Some of our buildings, our DPW building is in disrepair and needs work. Some of our trucks need repair. They're not big, you know, sexy things that people want to vote for, but that's what the town needs. Like, that's the reality of what we need and the things I need to look at as mayor. I do appreciate working with people. Emily and I were, I forget where we were, and she brought up the senior prom thing because we were talking about the senior picnic. And I already talked to Dial-A-Ride, and I said, Emily had this great idea. We wanted, you know, I've talked to Manny about several things. I want to work with people. That's what I do. I can really work with anybody, I feel, and it's not about, you know, to me, Democrat or Republican. It's about Rockaway Township and doing what's best for Rockaway Township. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes. You know, I met with Charlie. I talked to Charlie. His passion. I'm sure many of you know in the lake. Charlie's got passion for water, and it's important, and it's a big part of this community here. Suzanne and I come here on a Friday night in the summer and hang out, and it's beautiful here. So, you know, I appreciate all that, and those are some of the things, you know, we want to build on, is those relationships I've been building and creating with people and increasing senior services. You know, Howard talked about Peterson Field, but recreation's more than that. We need, thank you.
Amen. It's your turn. Tell me when you're ready.
I'll tell you, 3 minutes.
I know.
That's tough for me. Well, I'm going to give you a fast timeline of what I've done, and I'm going back to the 70s. Okay. Went to college in Connecticut, got involved with school politics and service organizations. After I graduated, the service organizations grabbed me, and so did the U.S. Army. I was in the 423rd Military Police. I said I don't belong shooting guns, so they made me supply chain. After that, I moved to Connecticut, New Jersey, Passaic County. Got married to my lovely wife, Lynn. Got involved in Passaic County with the county's big brother, big sister. Ran a lot of functions with them. Then I moved to Rockaway. I am now a Rockaway Township resident, will be 40 years. Okay, got involved in people who were on the POA know back then. I did security. I helped run the carnivals back then. Moved on to the Lions Club. Handled every position until I became Lions president. I was on Camp Marcella, on their board. Ran the I-Mobile. Then my daughters came along, Jessica and Carrie. They got old enough. I coached girls softball, played softball, umpired boys baseball, majors and seniors. So I was involved with recreation. Got elected to the town council as a 5th ward councilman. This is my 3rd term, so I'm not a beginner. I've been on the council going on 11 years, will be 13, and in my 2 previous times, I served under 10 mayors, so I've seen it all. Okay, currently I'm liaison the regional, let's say Historical Society, Substance Abuse, Environmental Committee with the Watershed Subcommittee, which I mentioned to the mayor about the pile at Tilcon when we were at the Ford Face House, and that started. I contacted DEP to the Environmental Commission, and they're supposed to come down and discuss things with them. So I'm an environmentalist. As far as that, you talking about infrastructure? Yes, we need more infrastructure improvements. It just got to be faster. They're just moving too slow. The library board I'm on, the audits committee I was, vehicle review committee. I'm active. I'm out all the time.
Okay.
So, you got questions? I can add that. That's not bad for 3 minutes.
answer the question about the water.
She asked the question, they could answer.
Joanne's question.
Joanne, yeah, so, my understanding of the study is now, it's in the hands of our engineer and our health officer, I think, who does a lot of the water inspections, and they go through it and identify. So that was part of the meeting, and what Manny brought up about what's going on up at Tilcon, and trying to identify how they were gonna address the different items in that thing. And Tucker, you taking a picture? Thank you. How they were gonna address those items in the findings. So I don't know, I could find out where they're at with that. I know it's, you know, they wanna take time and make sure that they're addressing the appropriate things, but I could get more information for you.
Yeah, you just don't wanna miss the window.
Yep, of the grant funding, absolutely, yep.
If you need any help writing grants, give me a call.
You know, stop by afterwards.
Do you have it?
Yeah, just one.
Yeah, do you want to something to add? Sure.
This is what I'm talking about. We've had these problems for a while. And the study, know nothing about the study. You gotta move faster. Things are taking too long and you gotta press to get the facts out quicker than they are. And that's what I wanna do.
Anybody else have another, you have a question? Another question?
So, I mean, you actually were on council, you were in the room when you got that report. So you've had this report. So as mayor, if you became mayor, what will you do to make that report serve the purpose that it was done for?
Well, obviously, you gotta bring it to the front. It's gotta be realistic. It's gotta be able to, you gotta be able to do it. And if it's bad for the town, everybody's gotta say, yes, it's bad for the town. Cross the lines. I've worked with the other side on everything because I'm a minority on the council. You gotta cross the lines to get things done. But you gotta push what's right for the town. If it's not right for the town, you can't vote for it. But these things have to be addressed, and faster than slower.
Anyone else have a question? You have a question?
Yeah. Not on that, but it just seems that it's a common thing that keeps happening about these delays, even with this administration, yet when it's the other administration.
What is your
it becomes their fault.
question, though?
So anyways, in the last candidate meeting that we had, less than a week ago, Mayor Jackson had mentioned that if anybody says that they can lower taxes, they're lying. And my question is that in 2018 and 19, the council at that time, tax-minded members of the majority, reduced our budget by $1.5 million consecutively over the 2 years. And then during that time, Councilman Saber reached a $300 reduction. Mr. Morrison received a $500 reduction. Mr. Jackson also received a $500 reduction in his taxes until the majority swung a different way. When you say that you can't achieve, I will, Mrs. Degman. I know you let everybody else talk and speak.
Yeah, but they're asking questions. We
Trying to get to the question.
ask the question.
The more you interrupt, the longer it's going to take. So with that being said, why can't you achieve something less than a flat budget when the council in the past had done the same thing without the loss of services, and it also had a robust amount of reserves that we had? Why not taking that extra step to go a little bit more, to give back more?
Is that the question?
I guess that's the question.
Okay. So, I never said anybody was lying. So it
Quiet, please.
Recorded.
close your mouth, right? Okay, so, the reality is, right, and I said this during the last time I spoke, right, to lower somebody's taxes by $100, average taxpayer, you have to lower our budget by roughly $1.7 million. So tapping into the reserves, like was done in the past, is risky. The auditors told me that's risky. I'm not willing to lower our reserves to save $100 to the average taxpayer. What I'm more willing to do is look at how we fund programs for the services you get. Everybody has services in this room that they expect and they like that they get from the town. Are there other things you like? We talked about garbage pickup and things like that other communities do. That raises taxes. So those are the types of things I'm looking at. How can we fund the things we already have and help keep our taxes flat? And if we can lower it, we can, but I'm not willing to take money out of reserves to do that. It's risky, our auditors have told us that, they don't recommend it, and that's the reality of it. So that's it, so.
Quiet, please. Manny, do you have anything else to add?
Just one quick thing. You're talking about reserves. I'd like to really know, because to bring up the state audit, there's three sides, everybody says there's three sides to every story. What is the actual facts? Do we have, I know reserves are important, because you have to plan ahead. But how much should you have in reserves? A realistic amount, or reserves that go above and beyond? That's what I'd like to just get to the bottom of,
You have to look, man.
Yeah, but the state audit changed things. So I'd like, which when we go over the budget for this year, which is coming up, there'll definitely be more questions involved. Because I've never said no to reserves, because I know what we need.
Okay.
I say no to spending money on things that we don't need. Or be a little smarter instead of fixing something that's gonna end up costing you a year or two down the road. Gotta look at it a little better. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am?
What I've learned is that Rockaway has heart, right? That's what we learned when we teach our kids. So as the mayoral candidate, what do you think is the heart of Rockaway? Why do you want to be mayor, and how do you plan on being the representation of the heart of Rockaway?
I'll go first this time. There you go. Thank you. See how I crossed the line? Why do I not want to be mayor?
Why do you want to be mayor, and how do you represent the heart of Rockaway?
Right here. I'm in this town 40 years, raised two beautiful daughters. See, now I'm getting a little choked up, because I'm starting to think of my daughters who live in Westchester and went through the school systems, were very active, and there's some people in here that know my daughter Jessica and Carrie. Now Carrie's got 4 children, 8, 6, 4, and 2. My other daughter has a 9 and a 7-year-old. This is the way I was raised, to help people. I want to make it better for my daughter's friends who moved back to Rockaway and their children. It's all about the future. In 40 years in this town, I think I've shown it, that I care. And I will never stop caring.
So welcome to Rockaway. To me, the heart of Rockaway is a lot of what Manny said. A lot of it's the kids. A lot of it is being involved and being out. So, for instance, this Saturday we're at the soccer event, hanging out with kids, seeing what they're doing. We're at flag football. My wife and I try to go to all the PTA meetings to see what the PTAs have going on. Getting involved with that. How can the township help the youth? I try to go to senior meetings as much as possible, because I do think that's a big part of town. I look at, the people that need help are our seniors and our children. And so to me, what I try to do is be out in the public as much, talking to people. And like Manny said, I don't care what your party affiliations or anything. We go to clean communities. I was talking to the Democratic candidates. It's all good, and that's what Rockaway's about. Rockaway's not about Democrats and Republicans. Rockaway's about Rockaway. And it's a bunch of different, the weird thing is, right, it's Birchwood, it's Town Square Village, it's White Meadow Lake, but we're all one community. And I try to get out in all those communities to bring us all together and just do what's right for all of Rockaway. So that's it.
For the record, that was the best question tonight.
Mike, yeah.
You mentioned PTA. How are kids doing as far as math and English scores compared to
I think that would be a question for a Board of Education candidate. They go to the
Yeah,
meetings to see
I go
what's
to the
going on.
meetings to see what's going on in the
So
schools
they
and how we
keep
can
aware
get
of
involved,
it.
yeah.
And the last question.
Yeah, we've heard this mentioned about the state audit of Rockaway Township. Can each of the mayoral candidates tell us what it's about and how it would affect Rockaway Township and, you know, what it said about Rockaway and how it impacted?
Right, Joe?
It was our audit, Manny. So the audit of the township started, I think before I became mayor, or it was right around when I was mayor, and they did a whole audit of the township and its financial operations. And they found some things that were out of compliance, mostly created by contracts that previous administrations and councils approved, right? So there were things we were allowing to do. We were allowing employees to carry over vacation time more than a year worth of time. There were other findings, and they were really all a result of things that were done in the past that didn't meet the standards of state guidelines. And so what my administration did was, once we got the audit, and by the way, this is the question about the Princeton Hydro, things like this get in the way, right? The auditors come in, and the administration's consumed with meeting with the state auditors and answering questions. So as much as you want to get things done quickly, something like this happens, it takes time. So there were findings about offering duplicate prescription benefits to employees. Again, these are things that all happened in the past that were just going on and had been approved by numerous councils, at least the past 3, these contracts. And so we looked at it, we evaluated, we've made changes. We're still learning. We just provided a response to the state. They came back with additional measures that we're evaluating. We just signed up a healthcare broker. We've never had one in the past. We have a healthcare broker now, so we're going to be bidding out our health benefits. So, yeah, it was a pretty detailed audit that disclosed a lot of things that needed to be fixed in Rockaway.
How many millions in waste?
So,
You had your chance. We have to continue because we have a lot of questions. Now we're going to have the candidate for state senator, Christine Clark, come up.
Gotta be respectful of time. There you go. Thank you much.
Yes. Well, Jonathan is going to come up too.
Brilliant.
So you don't feel alone.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's just that we have a time limit, and I want to make sure everybody gets to speak.
I'm a mom of 4. There's not much quiet time, so.
Okay. Okay, Christine.
Yeah? Okay, brilliant. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you again. My name is Christine Clark. I'm running for state senate to represent the now 25th district, which both my town of Jefferson and your town of Rockaway Township have been drawn into. I am an environmental advocate, a grassroots organizer, a mom of 4. I live in Jefferson. My kids are 19, 17, 10, and recently turned 8. And I'm very grateful to see all of you, to see this political engagement. I know everybody else has something else they can be doing tonight. Shout out to my husband Chris, who is home helping my daughter sew wings for her custom-made costume this evening. He is the best. We've been married, goodness, 20 years this year. And he's just a wonderful soul. So I'm running for state senate this year in part because I still persist on the issues that we've talked about last time I was here. I still care very much about protecting clean air and clean water. I've been fighting right through for that, even though we didn't win our last race. I had promised you all that I would stay an advocate on those issues, and I have. I believe in protecting personal rights and autonomy and someone's own self-determination. I think the government doesn't belong making major life choices for us. I think those are ours to make. I think it's really important that we work to lower costs for families in New Jersey, and I think the only way we get that is to have working class representation in the State House. You know, running for office, you see a lot of things. The process of candidacy opens your eyes to how truly difficult it is for people like us to get in there. And if we aren't represented at the table, we're not getting policy for us, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And I think broadly we need to lead with empathy and decency. You know, I really appreciate in particular the mayoral candidates talking about, you know, how human issues are human issues. They're not partisan issues, we're not playing team sports, we're trying to take care of each other. So for the last few years, I've been working as a volunteer with a number of organizations. I'm a steering committee member with Jersey Renews, which is trying to move New Jersey forward on responsible climate policy. We get a lot of garbage about being a bit conservative, but I actually think the right thing to do is not to hand out pink slips. So, you know, we're working really hard to make sure that we advance a responsible transition. I've been volunteering with a number of women's rights groups. I've canvassed with groups like Food and Water Watch to stand up to the state when I think they're wrong. And again, I continue to do this work because I believe in it, not just because I love to be in the legislature. In particular, running this year against Senator Bucco is an experience. I don't really know him. I haven't seen him at that many events. I mean, he's not here. Given we're out of time, I'll tell you that I have the most robust website I've ever had because we haven't had a debate. The conditions that he set for debate were ridiculous. He wanted senator in front of his name, he wanted it online only, he wanted to pre-screen the questions, he wanted to assign a moderator, he said no federal issues. So check out clarkforsenate.com to learn more, and thank you for being here.
This is Dr. Jonathan Torres. He's running for the Assembly seat.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for making time to come out and hear our positions and ask us questions. I am Dr. Jonathan Torres. I'm a family medicine physician. I live in Randolph for the last 10 years. I work in Morristown, where I help train the next generation of family physicians, people who've graduated medical school and spent 3 years learning how to actually deliver care on their own. And what inspired me to get into medicine was taking care of people over a long time and spending most of my time asking questions and then quietly listening. And I find that when I provide opportunities for people to express themselves, to bring up their concerns, to ask the questions that they have, we wind up arriving at the place that we're trying to get to much sooner. And we find solutions that are really in favor of what they're looking to get. And that's really what drove me to consider running here for the Assembly. Over the last 10 years, I've talked to a lot of patients who've really struggled. And I'm a big advocate for my patients. I fight if an insurance company says, no, I don't want to pay for that. I take that as an insult and I make sure that they do. But that takes weeks to sometimes months. And as a physician, I can help that one patient that one time, but every year I'm going to have to fight that fight again. And so what really led me to get up on this stage and put myself out there on top of my day job is a desire to help more than just one person at one time once a year, but to make policy that actually empowers patients so that the insurance company doesn't hold them ransom, doesn't just say, no, I don't want to pay for that, and subject us to weeks that delay them getting access to care, that drive up their costs, that expose them to risk and complications, and frankly, people die. This is a real serious issue, and it's one that really drove me to join this team and work with Christine and our running mate Diane Salvatore, who couldn't be here tonight. And we're all really united around this, listening to the constituents like we are here with you tonight. Accountability is so important to us, and we want to hear your questions and your ideas. I've heard how passionate some of you are about some of the issues affecting your town, and certainly you all have questions and interests. And so thank you all for being here. And I hope that over the coming years, we're going to hear from you as your representatives and be able to work together to help make Rockaway and the district even better than it already is. Thank you.
For either of these two candidates, Charlie? I would like to ask the same question of you folks that I asked of the town council, but in a different way. And I'm kind of disappointed that Senator Bucco isn't here to also reply to my question. But I don't understand how come, maybe you can give me some insight as to why this is, how come the state DEP never tests the water of Tilcon Quarry for industrial contaminants when that water flows through our lake, then leaves our lake, goes down the Rockaway River to the Jersey City Reservoir? To me, that would be a health issue. So my question is, how come nothing has ever happened about this? And I've been involved in the watershed since the 90s. So that's decades when this has not been addressed. I was wondering if you could offer me some insight why it hasn't been, when it's a health issue.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. The quick answer is accountability. The quick answer would be accountability. It's expensive sometimes to do the right thing, and over the last few years, and look, I know there's a lot of good people and a lot of good jobs over there, but over the last few years, I've brushed up against them many times too. You know, one example would be the Monksville Reservoir. We're having a huge fight over the Monksville Reservoir because they're approving a polluting project that would feed into the reservoir and pollute the water that 3.5 million people drink. We've also run into issues over in Lake Apacom where there's a quarry that had been polluting with silt and soot in the water that had been not only gotten in the water but was on people's windowsills. The more noise that's raised around an issue, and this is where advocacy is so important, the more attention it gets. It's kind of a squeaky wheel thing. And I can tell you that there are times when it's not made easy. At the time of the quarry issue, I had called their government affairs office. I thought as a candidate that I could try to speed my way through and get a little extra help, and boy was I laid into for doing that. I'm not even sure there was ever a time in my late father's life he's yelled at me like that. So, you know, the short answer is the advocacy is really important. It's important that the public is educated and aware. That's not an easy thing to do. That's part of why I do things like Canvas with Food and Water Watch. There was a hearing last year, August 4th, about the pollution with the Monksville Reservoir, where, you know, Democrat or Republican, I didn't care, because again, this is a human being issue. This is an environment issue. I knocked every door in the affected communities to say, hey, you should come out to this hearing and speak up because you have a right to clean water and it's about to be violated. And that's the kind of thing that I would be more than happy to do if I'm ever allowed to call that government affairs line too.
So Christine is far better versed in this than I am. But I will speak from two perspectives. One as a physician, and the other is as a scout leader. I've been a Cub Master and an Assistant Scout Master. I love the outdoors and sharing it with young people. And I think that part of the problem, it is advocacy. It's energizing and organizing communities to speak up and to make noise. However, someone has to be listening to. And it helps when you have people who actually share some of the concerns, who would also like to see that we're providing clean and healthy drinking water and air, that we have green spaces for people to enjoy so that people can actually commune with nature the way it's supposed to exist. And I think that's the other side of this, is electing people that we're actually expecting are going to represent our interests and our concerns. And that's what you would have with us. Thank you.
Anybody else have another question? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this month is for Dr. Troy. My name is Francesca Norton and I live here in Blue. The current administration in Trenton has been mandating these COVID vaccines for the high school, college kids, and many things like that. What do you think about that? Because I don't think that everybody should mandate a vaccine just to be in school. That's not right. Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure, so the question was since I have a microphone, if that's okay, Francesca. The question was with regards to some of the mandates, particularly around the COVID vaccine, for people to be able to attend schools. Colleges primarily, or were you?
My understanding is that Rutgers is doing it, but you know, it trickles down to everybody.
Okay. So vaccines are really a complicated issue. And I would really love to expound on it, but this structure doesn't really permit a lot of that. Vaccine mandates or requirements have been around for a very long time, and to some extent, vaccines help tremendously reducing diseases. In college, particularly, there's meningitis. That being said, we have gotten to a point with this pandemic that we do have effective treatments. We've seen a shift in terms of the virulence of the COVID that's infecting folks. And so I do think that we don't need to use the same heavy-handed tactics to try and enforce widespread vaccinations. At my institution, we don't require it for physicians to practice, because I think the evidence says that we have other strategies to use, like looking at the community prevalence and trying to identify people that are very vulnerable of having complications, to either vaccinate volitionally or to make sure that they quickly get connected with resources to get some of those effective treatments.
The bottom line issue is that the state is saying you have to have this to go to school. Mandated. That, I do not agree that that's right. And if you want to go to the state assembly, what do you have in mind about that?
So I think that as a physician, everything we do should be based on evidence. And like I said, I think the evidence suggests that we have effective treatments. I don't think that mandates for vaccines are necessary anymore. I think that time has passed, and probably the state should revisit why we're requiring COVID vaccinations at this point. That would be.
Okay.
Yeah, hi.
Also for me, or is Christine going to get some attention?
I wish that Senator Bucco was here also. My concern is gun safety, especially after what's happened in the last couple of days. And according to from what I've read, Senator Bucco and some of the members of the legislature are pushing for. New Jersey right now has one of the best, safest states regarding gun violence. And I'm really concerned about what's happening to the state and certain people get elected into office, like Ed Durr, Parker Space, and John Mayo. They want to push back on a lot of the safety legislation, and I'm really concerned about that. So I wish Bucco was here, but maybe you can address that issue, how you differ from him.
Do you mind if we both, because we both have different perspectives on this, so if we could both answer it, that'd be great. Go ahead.
First, okay.
Go right ahead.
Well, first, thank you. I share your wish that Bucco was here. I will say that I do have a nuanced perspective on this. So I am a gun owner. Like I said, I've been involved in Scouts. I got my first .22 rifle when I was about 14. It's been responsibly locked up since. Since coming to Jersey, I've purchased more. I enjoy shooting. However, they're stored safely. I've followed the processes in the state to make sure that the right person who's safely capable of operating a machine that's capable of doing some real harm, that there have to be some guardrails. As a physician, I see how those conditions can change. I'm sure all of us have family members who maybe shouldn't be driving anymore. They passed that driver's license test once upon a time, but for whatever reason, whether it's vision or age or medical conditions, they're not safe to do that any longer. And so I do think that we need to have some options to make sure that people that can safely use firearms can still obtain them. I do push against the idea that we need to have no regulation whatsoever, because I do think that those are important, that people who want to get them can get them. I just want to make sure that it's safely administered and that it's capable of adapting as they go on through their lives and conditions change. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I do appreciate it. So full disclosure, I do have 4 kids, and my children are homeschooled. One of my children was severely bullied in school, and we ended up withdrawing and homeschooling in part because of that. And I recently had a conversation with my daughter. She comes up in the conversations a lot. She's, very politically interested, but also a lot of her rights and concerns happen to be political right now too. And so she and I had a conversation about whether this year was the right year to reintroduce to public school. I give them that choice at the beginning of every year. I don't force them to stay home. It's up to them. And she told me, no, Mommy, because I don't want to get shot. So, like John was saying, I have no issue with responsible gun ownership. My father was Navy. We always had guns in the house, but they were safely locked up. I come from a long line of veterans, many of whom were gun owners, all Navy except 2 people. We had one family member we lost in World War II who was Army. The uncles used to tease that he joined the wrong branch. And my grandmother was Army. She was an X-ray tech. So, you know, I've been around guns, but when they're safely stored, they're safely locked up, you know, people are keeping them well. And, you know, hopefully we can get to a place in society where we can pass legislation that we agree on. You know, I have heard 97 or 98% of Americans agree with safe background checks. Can we do that, please? You know, those are things that I'm concerned about too. I know that there's some back and forth in the state legislature with issues like guns on playgrounds. And I think that's another thing like background checks that we can agree. Please don't bring guns on playgrounds. There's children there. You know, I think we have to be able as a society to have safe and sensitive and understanding conversations in which we don't come into these things as team sports. We come in as parents and cousins and, you know, friends and sisters and whatever the case may be first, and see the humanity in each other before we have these discussions. But yeah, I think it's absolutely a priority to keep people safe and protect people's rights. And I really appreciate the question. Thank you.
Many of my friends have been talking lately about the religious exemption in New Jersey, and it was almost taken away a few years back. Should it come up again, and there's a threat to have it removed, would you vote to keep it or to get rid of it?
So I'm just trying to understand religious exemption broadly, or as it pertains to a specific?
The religious exemption as a bill.
For
vaccines, yeah.
For vaccines,
Yeah.
that was my question. I just wanted to, I had the suspicion, but I just wanted clarity, so thank you. So, I would support it. Like I said, I don't really support broad requirements in the first place, so honestly, I would support that you don't have to get to the point of religious exemption just to avoid getting a vaccine, which is kind of...
Would you vote to keep it in New Jersey, or would you vote to have it removed?
To keep the ability to get religious exemption from vaccinations broadly?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Christine?
Sure. I believe you may have been in the meeting where we talked about this in past. I'm not a big fan of things that cause community trauma, and I think this is one of those things that probably would. You know, I'm fine with leaving that standard in place and would not vote to remove it.
No problem. I think that's the last question. Okay, thank you very much. Can I ask Ann Grassi to please come up? She's our current county clerk, and unfortunately her opponent is not here, so.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ann Grassi. I'm the Morris County Clerk, and I've been the county clerk for 10 years now, and I'm looking for another 5-year term. As a county clerk, a lot of people don't know what the clerk's office does. I only have 3 minutes, so it's really hard for me to go through everything, but I'll try to be as concise as possible. All your land records are in my office. Every time you refinance, everything gets filed in my office. All right, so we go back to the 1700s. My office is like 280 years old. I'm the 30th county clerk. I'm the second female to be county clerk. We work, we have a part of the election process. We also have passport acceptance applications. We do notaries. If you have a notary, you must come to my office to be sworn in. We have gold ID, gold parent IDs, veterans IDs, and senior IDs. And we recommend that people do that. I do a lot of public speaking on a lot of different subjects, but I want to tell you what I've done over the past 10 years. First of all, I have a full interactive website that is, I know there were some people here who were on it absolutely last night. I have a free mobile app, so you can, right on your phone, it's free. I know people have been very concerned about property fraud. You've seen the commercials. I have a free property fraud alert system. You do not need to go pay money to know if something's going on with your property. Go to my website, morriscountyclerk.org, sign up for the free property fraud alert system. What that will do is anytime anything's filed against your property that would affect your title, whether it's good or bad, you're going to hear about it. We're going to send you an email letting you know. This way, if something isn't right, you can handle it in real time and not find out when you're trying to do a refinance or you're trying to sell your house 20 years later because you're moving to Florida or someplace like that. Okay, I do a lot of public speaking. I have instituted On the Road program, which we come to you to give you services. I go to senior clubs, town clubs, and I speak about what our services are. So if you need passports, we can come to your town, and we have come to actually Rockaway Township to do passports. We've also come for senior IDs, veteran IDs, and senior veteran and Gold Star parent IDs. I've instituted a veterans discount book. We have over 300 local merchants that are willing to give veterans discounts. This is in addition to like the Lowe's and the Home Depots. We have gone out and solicited them. I also have brought in about $90 million in state mandated fees. $16 million goes to the state county, which is used to offset taxes, and the rest of it goes to the state. I don't know what they do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your service that you do in the last 10
Thank you.
years, also being a councilwoman and everything else in Parsippany. I have two questions. One question is, as a county clerk in Morris County, what do you believe that you do better and different than the other 20 counties in New Jersey?
Well, I'm not going to talk badly about my colleagues in the other 20 counties, but I can tell you that what I have done personally is I have brought the county clerk's office out of the dark ages. Of course, technology has grown considerably over the past 10 years, but when I got there, they were still doing the voting tallies on pieces of paper. Remember, what was it, the Sting, where they were doing the betting and they were putting the pages up on the wall? That's what the county clerk's office was doing. So now you don't have to do that. We have an election night website, and you get the results when we get the results. They're not always that fast because I have to wait till after 8 o'clock to put most of the results up, and then I also have to wait to receive the results from each of the towns. We have people that I swear in as deputies, and they go out to each of the municipal clerk's offices and they bring back the voting information, the results from the various towns. So that's the one thing. The other thing that I'm proud of is that I kept the Morris County Clerk's office operating during the whole pandemic. All right. Now, while all the offices, the buildings were closed, and many of the offices in the county were not open for any reason whatsoever, my staff came in every day. We still had to file mortgages and deeds and resolutions, and we still had to do that kind of work. We also sent out over 400,000 vote by mail ballots that year, which, believe me, was no easy task because we have to physically put the ballots in the mail, you know, in the envelopes to get them to you. It's part of the job because I have to oversee that, and my being there says that you're getting the right ballots, that the ballots are done properly. So that I think I was very proud of, and also being able to open up as soon as we were able to open up because we put in all of the right protocols and the right what were they called? The masks, yes. That we had all of that, and we had that all in time to be able to open up and provide you with services. We normally, before COVID, we would get about 17,000 people coming into the office. for various things that I had talked about previously. We're moving back in that direction. People are now really coming in a lot again to get those things done. So that's, any other questions?
Yeah, the second part of my question was, we did have reform under Chapter 78 in 2010, in May of that year, that really restricted elected officials to receive benefits. And in 2007, there were some pension changes too. As a county clerk and elected official, do you currently receive pension and benefits, and will you receive pension and benefits when you retire?
I receive I had a pension, but not from PERS. I'm in a different pension, so I pay into that pension as well. And as far as health benefits, I'm a full-time employee. I'm not a part-time employee. And I also am an attorney by profession, so I am not practicing, have not practiced since I became the county clerk, because I devote all of my time to the services of the county clerk's office.
Do you receive benefits upon
I
retirement?
I receive health benefits.
Upon retirement, though, I'm saying.
Well, it depends. The county has a time period. You have to have so many years in to be able to retire from the county with health benefits, but health benefits would only be for me, not for my husband.
But if you're successful in this run, you would meet the eligibility for retirement benefits?
I would meet the eligibility for retirement. I would have 15 years in. I have no intentions of retiring, and as long as I'm healthy and I enjoy what I'm doing, I intend to stay on as long as I can. Thank you. One thing, I'm open on election night, so we have, it's an open house. If you want to come and see the election in process, not just in your own town, but we do, we have the computer set up so you can look at the stuff as we get them, you're going to get them, you'll see how we operate. And I do invite people to come, even if you just want to come to see what we do. It doesn't have to be on election night, but just come in and visit. We'd like to see you, so thank you.
We have a candidate that is running for county commissioner who unfortunately is not able to be here. He did send me a short little note, and I said I would read it. It says, "Good evening, Rockaway Township. I want to apologize for being unable to attend. I am currently out of the country for a few days. I've always enjoyed coming to the candidates' night and speaking to everyone, and I appreciate you all being here. I wanted to thank Pat Degnan for letting me submit this. Rockaway Township is my home and will always be. I've lived here for almost my entire life. When I wasn't in Rockaway Township, I spent a few years in Dover, but I've always been in Morris County. We have an incredible opportunity this year to elect a commissioner fully focused on the issues here in Morris County. We have I am committed to business and economic development through partnerships and incentives. I will address the affordable housing shortage through municipality assistance and establish a homeless trust fund not to be funded by county taxes. I will drive down costs for municipalities, which include us right here in Rockaway, through shared services coordination, which will help lower our taxes and have fully funded public safety and health services. I'm here to continue investment in preserving our parks and open space and to improve public transportation. I will also increase communications with constituents on availability, service, and to always be fiscally responsible and transparent. So let's bring some balance back to the partisan one-party commissioners and elect someone who will really listen. Please feel free to check out my website as well. And that is from Jonathan Sackett. Now we're going to hear from our Board of Education candidates. Will they please come up? In the township this year, we have candidates running for a 3-year term. Unfortunately, no one from the 3-year term is here tonight. But for the 2-year seat, we have 3 candidates. We have Noel Anderson, and we have April Matera-Patino, and Andrew Forst. Okay. I'm terrible with names.
Who would like to go first? One second, let me set the timer.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Noelle Anderson. Thank you, Pat, for setting this up and inviting the Board of Ed candidates. I'm a public school teacher. I'm passionate about teaching all students. I teach in Skylar Colfax Middle School in Wayne, New Jersey this September. I started my 21st year there. I've served as a special education teacher and a language arts teacher for general ed. This year, I teach 1 6th grade seminar class and 2 blocks of English language arts. My classes are inclusion, which means I have mixed ability, students with IEPs, students with 504 plans, and your general ed population. I am in a top performing school in the state. We have mixed ability, socioeconomic factors, religions, races, and yet we consistently score really well. This year, all of my students were in the meeting expectation range on a state test, and I don't know, I guess that's where I really started to think about where we stood in the scheme of things. So I always wanted to be a teacher. I never had lifelong political goals, so this is new and outside of my comfort zone. But to be perfectly honest with you, it was last year. My son was in 4th grade. He's a student at Dwyer. Middle school was on my radar. We only had 2 more years in elementary school, and I was hearing some less than positive things about Copeland Middle School. And I wasn't there. I didn't know what was going on. I've had great experiences at Dwyer, but I got nervous. And as a middle school teacher, I started to not be so comfortable sitting back and just being okay with it. So I started to look into the data, I looked into the test scores, I looked into our rankings on niche.com, and we're fine, but we're not ranked. We're getting a B- on Copeland. They ranked 325 schools, we're not one of them. And that's just not sitting right with me. So I started to take part in the surveys and the strategic planning meetings that Dr. Corbett and the current board put forth. I appreciate the current board has been fully transparent. They revealed in all of those meetings some pretty unfavorable feedback. All of them had a vested interest in improving. And I think that that's when I decided, I don't know, maybe I could be part of the solution instead of just sitting back. So I do know middle school education. I've written curriculum since 2007. Currently, for the past few months, I've been sitting on the board. Board member Megan Lucchini moved this July, and so I put in a resume and was interviewed, and things have kind of been moving pretty fast since. So July 31st, everything had to be in Morris County Clerk's office, and I've tried to learn policy and curriculum and figure out where all that stuff is on top of campaigning, and I'm grateful that we have a chance that you can ask questions. Ideally, what I'd really like to do is bring programs to our students. I don't like that our kids are learning so many things on the computer still. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is April Matera-Patino. Thanks for coming out tonight on this cold, windy, goosey night. Thanks to you, for Pat, for hosting Meet the Candidates. I'm happy to be here to speak about my campaign for a seat on the Board of Education in Rockaway Township. Just to know, I'm not a politician. I've never held any public office or ran in any election previously. I'm just a mom who felt inspired to get involved. So please forgive me if I'm using notes. So let's get right to it. I am the Moms for Liberty candidate. I am running on a pro-parental rights platform. I also have the support of Bill Spady, a New Jersey project, and Team PYC, which is Protect Your Children. I have not received any monetary donations from any of these or any other organizations. I am not part of a right-wing extremist hate group. I am not a book banner, like is being said over and over again. I do not have any agenda or wish harm to any student or group. My child also does not attend school in this district. We decided to send her to Catholic school before my decision to run for Board of Ed. Having a child in the district is not a requirement to run for the board, and I feel like it actually gives me an unbiased view of the district as a whole. I do have a vested interest in this community and Rockaway Township Schools as a taxpayer, a mother, and a concerned resident. A little about myself: I have a bachelor's degree in English with a minor in women's studies from Montclair State University and a master's of social work from Rutgers University. My husband and I moved to Rockaway in 2013. We have a 6-year-old daughter in 1st grade and a dog named Brandy, who some of you may remember was rescued at Tilcon with the help of this fantastic community in 2016. I work as a licensed clinical social worker providing therapy to adults and have worked with a variety of populations throughout my career. The reason I decided to run for Board of Ed was simply because I wanted to get involved. I have been concerned about the direction New Jersey public school systems have been going in for the past few years, particularly with state directives, curriculum, and masking mandates that do not align with our family's values. I also feel there are some policies that need to be addressed, including Policy 5756, which is a hot topic right now. I believe that parents are the decision makers for their children, their biggest advocates, and their strongest supporters, and that no policy should be adopted that removes parents from the lives of their children while at school. During and post-pandemic, the already rising mental health crisis in this country increased, especially with our young people. I want to prioritize the mental health of students who may be continuing to struggle. I myself am a product of public education, but I don't have the same experience like the other candidates do. I am, however, a critical, free thinker, a team player, and I have the best interest of all students at heart. I don't claim to have all the answers, but I promise I will do my best to ensure that the students of Rockaway Township are best served by our school system. I hope I can count on your vote November 7th. Thank you.
Whenever you're ready.
Good evening. Thank you to Pat and the White Meadow Lake Civic Affairs Committee for having this. My name is Andy Forst. Just a little background about myself. I'm married, 2 children in the district in Copeland. I'm an 8-year resident of Rockaway, a 23-year resident of Morris County. My educational background: I've got a Bachelor of Science in Construction Management from the University of Maine. After college, I worked at Skansky USA Building for 7 years. Then I joined the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 102. Currently, I'm working as a project manager for electrical contractor based out of Rahway. I've been a volunteer EMT for 23 years in Bud Lake, holding various leadership and positions in operations and administrative, currently as a trustee. Volunteer soccer coach and basketball coach here in Rockaway for multiple seasons. How I got involved with the board: I applied for a vacant position and was appointed by the current board in August of 2022. Since then, I think I have offered valuable input to board discussions based on substantiated data and experience. I was able to earn a new board member certification from the NJSBA, which is awarded for completion of training requirements and BOE functions. If re-elected, I strive to support our superintendent and community to provide insight into facility upgrades, safety and security of the school population, equal education for all students, fiscal responsibility with the various rising costs across our interest, which is no easy task for anybody here tonight, facility upgrades that are long overdue, and continuing improving our relationships and communication with the various stakeholders involved in the district, and striving to meet our board goals and mission statement. In closing, I think I offer a no-nonsense approach to assisting the guidance of the Rockaway School District through an open communication and keeping the best interest of the school district as the main objective. Thank you.
Question.
What exactly is I've heard from people. You told us what you're not, but what is Moms
Moms for Liberty is an organization of not only moms, but parents and any concerned citizen that's fighting for parental rights in schools that seems to be kind of slipping away, especially with policies that are being implemented that remove parents from anything containing like gender ideology or gender identity of a child while they're in school. Is that for me too?
Yes.
While we're on this topic, I understand the importance of parents knowing what's going on with their kids, but as Noel stated, our education, like Rockaway School District is ranking B- and C right now. Why is that not, and maybe it is, but from what you're stating, you mentioned that this bill is a hot topic. Is the education of our kids also a hot topic for you? Because that's what matters.
Yeah, of course, education is a hot topic, and on the last board meeting, Mr. Ganella was talking about how pre-pandemic to pandemic to after pandemic, how some skills are still dipping in math for middle school, and ELA has bounced back for kids before to pre-pandemic level. So education, yes, it's a big topic, but the policy that I'm talking about, 5756, was presented to the schools as mandatory, I understand, which is a non-mandatory policy. So I think that it's time for that to be reviewed as parents are starting to notice that it's in the school districts. Because I think that teachers that are trying to do a fantastic job in educating our children shouldn't really be burdened with holding these secrets from parents that children might confide in them. I think maybe there's a better way. Maybe it's connecting them to resources, maybe mental health professionals, some programs, but not keeping parents completely out of what's going on with their kids in school.
Do either of the other two candidates address this question?
So yeah, yes, education's obviously always important. There just always seems to be, as with anything, a hot topic, I'll call it. And right now, that's 5756. As we heard one of the candidates say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I'm not saying that's what it is, it's just that's what a lot of people are talking about. As a current board member, that's what we've been hearing for the last 2 months. But education is always important. As we heard from April, Mr. Ganella presented at the last meeting. It's a matter of continuing with what we've been doing, but also addressing topics as they come up and going through the process to deal with that.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
What it sounds like is that there's a communication issue between parents and the school. So how would you combat that? What is your plan for the parents and the teachers' administration to communicate better, because that seems to be the problem?
Yes, from what I understand, her question is that it sounds like the bigger concern is parents are starting to feel like they're not involved. And as a teacher, that's where I hear the frustration of the family members. And I think to me, although that policy is being reviewed right now, I think that the issue right now that I'm concerned with is that some parents possibly feel like they don't know what's happening in our schools. And so, for me as a teacher, that's unsettling because I tried very hard to create open communication. I feel very strongly that students do best when they're supported at home too. I think that it's important that kids and families work together. I think the schools that flourish best have the strongest PTAs. And so I'm concerned that anybody would think that if I'm a teacher, I'm lying to them. I'm not, and I don't think that our teachers are either. I think that there's a lot of factors that could come into play. I think class size is an important issue. When your teachers have 27 kids in a class and only 40 minutes of prep a day, it's really hard to contact that many parents a day and let them know what's going on. And I think that if we allowed some greater flexibility on our teachers, that they would contact home and parents wouldn't feel like they don't know what's going on. I don't think that a parent should only find out at back to school night what the teacher's plan is, and that's the first I'm hearing from them, or in November for conferences that maybe their kid's slipping. So we need to create more of an opportunity for parents to come into the building. I think that what happened as a result of COVID, from my viewpoint as a teacher, we sent kids home and said, your teachers weren't your essential workers. And then when the kids came back hybrid, parents still weren't allowed in the building because of COVID, and we have to regain trust. And I recognize that as a teacher, and I think as a board member, I think that that's a priority for me, that we need to, not just a policy, but an overall look at what's happening and how do we bridge our community again.
At the end, you had started mentioning something about bringing programs back. What programs, you know, my kids all went through COVID, and there's a lot of programs. So what kind of programs were you talking about that maybe aren't there anymore?
Well, things are starting to come back, but the very first year we opened up, parents weren't even allowed in the buildings. And so I think for me it was hard. I had a third grader, I hadn't met his second grade teachers, I hadn't met his third grade teachers, and we went home first grade, and those were core learning experiences. I can't imagine being a kindergarten parent and not stepping foot in your kid's classroom, and I know that those were restrictions from a higher authority, but those are your babies, and you didn't even know who was teaching them, and that's a really hard thing. When Dwyer opened up, it was the very first thing that we were allowed to do. They had like a walk, and Mr. McGovern sent a text message to families at 7:30. Just got word parents can come stand outside. That place was packed. Parents want to be there. Parents want to know what's going on. And those are the types of programs, as simple as it was to watch your kids do a lap, that's what they want to be there for. But we didn't have that. We didn't have the book fairs. We didn't have assemblies. We lost a lot. And those things need to be returned in its entirety.
Another question?
Mr. Frost, you had mentioned something, I think you're the only person that brought up fiscal responsibility. As an individual that's been appointed to the board, currently a member now, what areas in regards to the budget that we have, do you see that there is fat to be trimmed, or are there other areas that you are looking into that may bring in programs to offset operating costs moving forward?
It's forced, but that's okay. Fiscal responsibility, to me, the budget, as we all know, as members of town council and stuff like that, there's not a lot of fat. I've only been there 1 year, but the rising cost of utilities, fuel, busing, just to name a few that I know off the top of my head, we don't see fat from my experience through one budget cycle. Bringing programs in, I know Mr. Ganella is actively seeking grants. We have current grants, ESSER grants. I can't name them all, I apologize, when they run out. So it's a matter of trying to keep them or find new ones. So that's, do I have any new ideas? No, I've been there a year, so I'm still learning those ropes.
Is that my follow-up question for Noel? Is two parts. One, have you received any donations or monies from unions? And if so, when there are issues coming up that are union related, how are you going to vote then at that time, knowing that they have potentially given you money?
Well, even before I was not endorsed by the Rockaway Teachers Association, I received money from my own Teachers Association. And so that's the only union that's supported me as my own. But even prior to that, I'm not able to participate in negotiations for teachers. That's the school board law because I'm a member of the NJEA. So I can vote for new hires and things like that as long as they're not a relative to me. But the negotiation process is still a negotiations team, and then I abstain from that.
Anyone else have a question? Well, thank you very much.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. I think we've had a very productive evening. I think we've all been given a lot of information. And just make sure you get out and you vote. Vote!